So with a fast-paced global environment and loads of changes going on in terms of technology and demographic shifts and other big global economic and geographic changes, we think that increasingly we're going to see people feeling more anxious about the future because there's just going to be a fast pace of change constantly in their lives, both business, personal lives. And we feel that organizations and individuals are going to need to be more adaptable to just a constantly changing future. We feel that environmental pressures, food and water in some nations are going to be a significant challenge in terms of aging population in some countries. We're going to be seeing a lot of that too, and a multi-generational workforce with younger people coming up with a completely different culture and skill set to those who we've seen before. So a much faster paced environment, I think, generally, and many more pressures on individuals and organisations to adapt faster. So in that context of much faster pace, I think there are probably two main things that future leaders are going to need. The first is to be more resilient in the face of constant change. And by that, what I mean is, uncertainty causes anxiety, and that's just very natural. And with increased uncertainty and the need to constantly adapt to different changes and pressures, we're going to see leaders needing to be both resilient in terms of physical resilience, in terms of mental resilience, emotional resilience, and to be able to transmit that to others. So that will be a really important skill. I think the second big one, which is very much related to that, is to have a mindset that is agile and adaptive. So being able to understand the business environment, to be able to adapt the business and to help others deal with the anxiety of constantly having maybe to change. And there's some really practical, I think, examples of that. If anybody has a smartphone, your smartphone gets updated 3 times a week. It's a really good example of how quick things change. How many companies issue a new product every week, and these tech companies now think of that as their way of working. That's their business model, and that's a real, tangible example of what we mean by the fast pace of change. In order to build both resilience and agility in leadership, a much more experience-based learning is going to be important. So a move away from formal training programs, things where we sit people in a classroom and ask them to learn and just absorb information. A much more experiential basis for gaining new skills, knowledge and abilities, much more focused on understanding others, building natural curiosity, and looking for ways in order to reflect your own assumptions back at others. And so strategies might be more rotations maybe outside of organizations. I know some of our clients use their relationships with NGOs to provide secondments to others into organizations that are completely different in terms of culture to their own, to challenge their assumptions. And to think differently about the way they do their work. I think also what's going to be very important, because technology is moving so fast, is for a leader and for organisations to leverage the data that they have about people. So that can include opinion data, demographic data, whatever it might be about individuals, to combine that together to look at long-term trends and be better at assimilating that information and trying the best to identify trends and using the sort of big data approach to answer very difficult questions. That's, I think, a way that technology can really help HR in particular start to tackle really complex issues. I think, as I mentioned earlier, experiential learning is going to be really, really important. So putting in formal accountability for those for leaders to be facilitating those sorts of experiences for employees and for leaders and for managers within organisations. Formalising that as a way of doing things is going to be really important. Leveraging technology in order to scale things more effectively. So with the pace of change being so quick, it'll be really important to be building customised, I think, programs that can be distributed through online platforms that allow people to interact and engage across boundaries in their organisation, be they geographic or business boundaries, to learn from each other and to interact with each other in an almost seamless way. And we've seen that socially. I just think of myself. I know that I have many cross-border friends that I can stay in touch with immediately on social media. I know what they're doing. They're in different time zones, different parts of the world, and I find out interesting and new things every day, and organisations need to learn to leverage that too. So I think those two things are really important.